I guess we're ready to start. My name is Tetiana Shelebko. I'm Cambridge ELT consultant, and today's topic is digital kids, scary or fun. The first thing to say would be what is the agenda? So we will be talking about digital education a little bit, and how mostly we will talk about how we can use technology in the classroom to develop effective practice. And I will show you a few cards, a few activities from our new idea pack, which is Generative AI for Teachers idea pack. And sure, you will be really interested to get it to your, as an addition to your certificates. Regarding certificates, please make sure that you are not expecting them right away, because we will need time to generate those. And you will have to wait for 5 days. After that, you will receive a thank you letter from the Zoom platform. In this thank you letter, there will be a link to the feedback form, where I will be asking you a few questions regarding the webinar and about some information about yourself. After you fill those out, you will get a link to your certificates, to the program, and to all the materials that I will share with you from this session. All right, I will check what's going on in the chat, and I think we're ready to start to go to the session itself. Okay. Fine. Let's go. So first question to you will be, what's your first association with the word classroom? Please type that in the cloud. The cloud will be appearing after you go to slido.com and write it there. For those of you who are using your smartphones, it will be easier to scan the code that you can see on the laptop on this slide. For those of you who are using laptops, well, you have to go to slido.com, put the code to join the session. Okay, we have comfortable, we have children, students and teacher. Remember, first association with the word classroom. That is interesting. Somebody typed parents. Okay, so we mostly have children, which is really, really exciting and really comforting. That first thing that you think about is children. That is really great, and this is how it should be. Comfortable, also a great second place word. And this is so cool that nobody is actually mentioning desks and blackboards. But most probably, when you think of classroom, this would be the first association in your head, which you don't put into the language first, but but first image you have in your head. This most probably will be that particular image that you remember from childhood, that we are all familiar with. Of course, these days we're using much more technology. We are thinking a little bit differently, and this is amazing that you put students or children in the first place association. But still, when we think about this system, the classroom system, uh, which was actually created by Jan Amos Kominski, and I'm sure you all remember that from the history of pedagogy. Yeah, the first classrooms were like this, and they still are like this. And the system, even though we're using more technology, the system doesn't really change much. And those who are in the chat, please, and those who are not in the chat, please come back to the chat, and let's see how well you remember the history of pedagogical studies, and to let me know when was this system created, which century. You can type that in the chat. What are your ideas? When was the classroom system created? All right, we have variations since 17, 18, 19. Long ago is a good word. 9, 17, 16. Okay, so yeah, it was created in 17th century, between 16th and 17th. And imagine how old the system is and for how long it hasn't been changing and how many generations got used to it. And we just take it as the best system ever created because we haven't created a new one. This is what we're used to. This is what we need to really reconsider, because when we think of how studying was happening in ancient Greece, just in the streets, and the point is that, yeah, it didn't have a very proper structure, a very proper curriculum. Like there wasn't a lesson, a break, then another lesson, a break. There wasn't a yearly plan, monthly plan, weekly plan, and things like that. So the learning wasn't happening from 8:30 till 3 and then it's done. It was happening all the time. Students who were starting from a teacher directly were learning something all the time, and they were supposed to oppose their teacher, and they were supposed to learn something on their own, to bring something to those conversations. And the learning was quite immediate, and so that's why the best things were created at the very beginning, right, in ancient Greece. And nothing much in terms of scientific thinking, in terms of all the mechanisms of how science works, of how logic works, of how speaking works and thinking. Yeah, so all the philosophical background of everything was created back then and built on it, because people were creative right away, and they were not just adopting a system that was created before them, which we do. And yeah, this is a great system, but let's think a little bit in a different direction. So this is the classroom we usually have an image of when we think of the word classroom. Or this is a classroom these days. Yeah, this is an online classroom with its particular curriculum. Or this is a classroom where technology and the lessons, classroom lesson system is integrated together. But what else can we think of? And is it really that effective, right? So first of all, we need to remember that putting students into some frames doesn't really develop their creativity and their desire of invention and things like that. And let's now look back not that long ago, not 400 years ago, but 1964. Those who have been listening to my maybe seminars, not webinars yet, back in, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, might remember this, but I will still remind you. In 1964, this guy predicted so many things, like video calls, like robots cleaning for us, like Wikipedia, like robots doing all the heavy factory jobs or plant jobs. And he also was thinking a lot about education. Can anyone recognize who this is? You can type that in the chat. Can you, or at least, yeah, exactly, that's him. That's Isaac Asimov. And I will ask you to watch the video where he's given an interview and think of these questions. Keep these questions in mind. What does the speaker, meaning Isaac Asimov, what is he criticize? What is that he criticizes? How does he imagine education? And how to develop creativity according to the speaker? And think whether there is anything you disagree with. Okay? Ready, steady, let's go to the video.
You can't take a human being and put him to work at a job that underuses the brain and keep him working at it for decades and decades and then say, well, that job isn't there. Go do something more creative. You have beaten the creativity out of him. If instead of having mass education, as we now have, must have, with a curriculum, once we have outlets, computer outlets in every home, each of them hooked up to enormous libraries where anyone can ask any question and be given answers, be given reference material, be something you're interested in knowing. From an early age, however silly it might seem to someone else, that's what you're interested in. And you ask, and you can find out, and you can follow it up. And you can do it in your own home, at your own speed, in your own direction, in your own time. Then everyone will enjoy learning. Nowadays, what people call learning is forced on you, and everyone is forced to learn the same thing on the same day at the same speed in class. And everyone is different. For some, it goes too fast, for some, too slow, for some, in the wrong direction. But give them a chance, in addition to school, I don't say we abolish school, but in addition to school, to follow up their own bent from the start. He's got to look forward to the fun in life, which is following his own bent.
This revolution you're talking about, personal learning, it's not just for the young, is it?
No, that's a good point. No, it's not just for the young. That's another trouble with education as we now have it. It is for the young, and people think of education as something that they can finish. And what's more, when they finish, that's a rite of passage into manhood.
Real world.
Right.
I'm finished with
with school. I'm no more a child. And therefore, anything that reminds you of school, reading books, having ideas, asking questions, that's kid stuff. Now you're an adult, you don't do that sort of thing anymore, you see?
And in fact, like prison, the reward of school is getting out.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids begin to say, when you're getting out.
And every kid knows that. Every kid knows the only reason he's in school is because he's a kid and little and weak. And as soon as and in fact, if he manages to get out early, if he drops out, why, he's just a premature man.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. In the city, I've talked to some of these dropouts, and they think they're there. They think they've become men because they're out of school.
That's right.
What's wrong with this?
Well, what's wrong with it is you have everybody.
All right. I'm coming back. So, okay. Let's think now. So, how do you think, how old is this interview? What year it was produced? In what year it was produced? Somebody was attentive. 1964. Yeah, it was 60s. It was before the internet, before all the computers in every house, before the phones. And he was already thinking of how we need to change the whole system. In this same interview, he would be also mentioning this classroom system. But what Isaac Asimov was thinking of is that there should be individual pace for every student and individual personal way of studying, personalized way of studying. And this is something students can personalize on their own. And since they have this access these days, we can think that he kind of predicted this. He predicted that there will be a huge library and the students will be joining from all over the world to ask questions and have an answer. But again, he didn't really think about what kind of questions we will be asking this huge library. Anyways, what did he predict? What is really happening now? That's a question to you, to the chat. What did he predict? What is really happening now? Okay, we have a funny text from Anastasia. The internet, yeah, he did. Lifelong learning. This is something we are actually doing these days. We cannot, all of us, we feel that we cannot think we cannot think that we finished school and we are done, we are ready to work. Why that was happening? Because back in the day of Isaac Asimov, there was this idea of studying for industry, right? People were just a function in different industries. So you learn something which is enough for completing a task wherever you work, and that's it. Now we are quite far away from here. Not everywhere, not in every sphere, not in every country as we know it, but the civilized world is tends to work on lifelong education. And we might think that this is not new, but this is something we haven't been doing maybe even 20 years ago. at the same time. This is something we've been doing 5,000 years ago. So we finally have another cycle of civilization, and we need to teach our students not the information, not the knowledge, but the skills, the ability to learn on their own. And the main idea of a teacher would be asking questions and teaching students how to ask proper questions, and how to facilitate the process of encouraging students all the time and motivating students all the time when knowledge is anyways available and there is access to any kind of knowledge everywhere. The only thing is to teach your student what is really knowledge and what's not. And of course, there will be always a percentage of those who are not interested, who are not motivated, who are not going to learn, and so on and so on. But our task is still not bringing the knowledge from our head and our experience to students, but to create the conditions where students will learn on their own. And okay, what is it that the speaker criticizes? What do you think? What is he? What does he criticize? That's again, you can type it in the chat. What is it that the speaker criticizes? Progress. Interesting. Google wasn't invented when the speaker was speaking. If there is a need to listen to the video once again, the past system of education, the way of teaching. Okay, yeah, that's closer. Learning is only for young. Exactly. That's one of the approaches that he criticizes. Other ideas? Okay, to my opinion, he mostly criticizes the curriculum, the same teaching for different pupils, exactly. But this is all the problem of the curriculum. Nowadays, we know that the Ministry of Education is working on more and more personalized approach where the teacher can be more flexible in choosing materials, where the teacher can be flexible in methods of teaching and so on, and make their own teaching plans, because there still should be some plan, but still there is no such thing as the same curriculum for everyone. There is a law for everyone, right? There is a standard for everyone, but this how you get to the standard is up to the teacher. And we also need to change our mindset about how exactly we approach our teaching. And it's not going to work with contemporary world and with contemporary students. It's not going to work the way we taught, the way we were taught. No way. And we need to change the mindset to the direction of less control. We have to stop controlling the students and thinking about how they get to the tests. We need to change the way we approach tests as they are, because that's why at Cambridge we're speaking more about fun, but serious fun. Tests should be fun, not the way of controlling your students. And it will do the same job, but the way you approach these things are about changing the mindset and so encouraging and motivating lifelong learning. Right. How does Isaac Asimov imagine education? That's another question, but if we spend all the time discussing those in the chat, that will not leave space for other ideas. So he thinks that it should be personalized and that it should be it should go from the student himself. And if you really think about all the students you have, they all have a lot of interests that we need to encourage, no matter what these interests are, whether it's architecture or anything, plants, art, maths. We need to think of how exactly we can be helpful with our knowledge to keep this interest growing and to connect it to communication, especially communication in English. So not coming from bringing knowledge from your head of how of the grammar, but how I can help this student to work on his, I don't know, architecture project with all the knowledge of grammar and English and how it can be of use. And that's the main thing. We use English. We don't just study it. We're not going to make everyone philologist in our classroom. Okay, and how to develop creativity according to the speaker. He doesn't say that, but there is this little part at the very beginning. Let's come back.
You can't take a human being and put him to work at a job that underuses the brain and keep him working at it for decades and decades and then say, well, that job isn't there. Go do something more creative. You have beaten the creativity out of him.
So what do you think is about creativity? How to keep students be creative? If you have any ideas, you can type that in the chat. Let the minds be free. That sounds relevant. Free students, let them ask silly questions. Different approaches. And of course, we know that we have a lot of students in the same classroom, but that's why we need to have different variety of tasks. Because we need to have proper knowledge of how the brain works. This is something you need to learn. You need to keep revisiting what are the newest research on how the brain works, on the neural studies as well. Having different opportunities. Communication with creative people. Great. So many great ideas. And up to you to think, is there anything you disagree with? Because there are a lot of things in this speech I also disagree with. still, that's why we are using the thinking to agree, to disagree, and to figure out what works for us. But back to our topic, the technology and digital kids. There are a few things we need to know about technology and using it effectively for effective practice. So, first of all, it should be learning-centered approach to selecting technology. And I already mentioned that we need to have some knowledge about how the brain works, especially how the memory works. We have here working memory. So there is temporary storage, and we can train our students. We have to sustain attention. And then the whole memory thing, like we need to know how to encode the new information, how to store the new information, how it's retrieved or recollected. And that's about memory, just about memory. So the psychological aspect is really important to understanding how we can work with the technology. We can try different things, but the first thing we need to know and we need to consider is that any novelty, it's great only if we can use it properly and if we know that it's appropriate for the brains of our students and that they can try it, then they can try it again, then they can try it again until they do it automatically and it becomes only about the completing the task, but not just learning how to use it. Still, why using technology is great? Because every time you need to use your new brain cells, not new, just you need to use your brain cells and make pathways from one brain cell to a different brain cell whenever you are using some new approach. And this is not only about students, but about the teachers as well. So we keep our brain working all the time, and that's what long learning is all about. So using technology to develop effective practice, when we speak about brain knowledge about how the brain works, this is it's there in every theory. The belief that repetition of newly learned information, language in our case, is critical for learning to happen. But rereading, underlining the language is not effective, right? Doing the same thing in terms of the task is not effective. So revisiting the language doesn't mean, for example, something we had as we were kids, write the same word a lot of times. That thing doesn't work. Read the text and learn it by heart. Doesn't work, because this is not critical. This is not revisiting the language from different aspects. When you listen, you read, you write, you speak, you complete a project-based task, you complete a CLIL task, you prepare for exam. These are very different approaches to repeating the language, right? Repeating, but through different tasks, so it stays there on different neural pathways. So instead of remembering learned grammar, vocabulary through rereading and underlying, it is more effective for our brain to take little tests. For example, make sure your learners know these tests are more like quizzes and kind of for fun, and they are the learning tool. And this will also help your students to keep calm during the exams later. So making quizzes, for example, give learners a sentence starter like we use present perfect when. and then ask them to complete the sentence using these tools. There is Kahoot, there is quizzes, there is Socrative, Google Forms, Slido, Mentimeter, WooClap, Miro. And it's not only about the test, but also making connections, filling in the gaps, and so on. And there sits a question: which one have you used? Which one is new for you from this list? Please look at the different tools and let me know which one have you used in your classroom and which one is new. I'm really interested because for me, I've never tried WooClap, for example. Okay, these are the ones you've been using. Is there anything you've never tried out of these tools? Mentimeter, yeah, that's a great tool, by the way. You should check it out. So print screen it and check these tools out. They are really great. All right, we will be moving on. So Miro is a great tool for lower level students. It's easy to create, for example, matching tasks there. Now, distributed practice, another point in using technology for effective practice. Forgetting is an important part of learning. This is something that just struck me when I read it. Forgetting is an important part of learning. Really, when you think about it, right, it's you cannot learn everything at once and keep it in your head all the time. You need to forget something, and then when you need it, you take it out from the storage you have. This is a really great quote. Think about it when you prepare for the lessons as well. So include some language items in the week's test that students studied before, long before. Add these items to your warmer or review quizzes using some of the apps above. Another great thing, ask students to write down anything they remember about what they have learned this unit or this month. This can be done before the test or after the test. You can create a Jamboard for each learner where they can exchange the explanations or memories. Or for example, there is another great tool, except for Jamboard. There is Whiteboard FY, a Kahoot-powered company, and this is a wonderful tool which you can use with your students really easily, with personal whiteboards for everyone, and they are visible for the whole classroom, and they are easy, user-friendly, and so on. And it's really simple tool to register and just start there. Okay, so Whiteboard FY, another tool for you to check out, where students can just put what they remember from the past week, from the past months, and it's kind of gamified in a way. Another thing, elaboration. Making connections between the language students learned and other subjects is really important to actually memorize the language. And this can be done in CLIL lessons, in project work, or in exam preparation. And one of my favorite tasks is to ask students to make explanatory videos for each other, as if they are some language bloggers. And for that, you can show them blog. There is a wonderful Learn English with Cambridge blog where teachers explain the language to the students. And you can ask your students to make the video where they explain some language to each other, and students can share these if these are comments. This can be in Google Docs. If these are videos, there is another great tool which is called Padlet, and there students can make their portfolio or just a board or a blog post using the video and organizing, categorizing those videos. If you, for example, have such an activity every the end of the topic, yet they explain something to each other about grammar or about use of language. And then they can collect the whole portfolio, and this will be a yearly project or something. So really, really useful digital tool for portfolio making. And another point would be interleaving. Practicing one thing for a long time can be boring and can lead to the illusion of knowing it well. This is something most probably all of us had when we were preparing for exams in our times. Like I repeat and repeat, especially I had it with history. I repeated and repeated the dates and some geographical places, but I thought I know it all, but it was just the illusion of knowing it well, because it's all about the connections and looking at everything critically. So what you can use is Genially, another great tool, and you can create home learning sessions by using this tool. It allows you to mix and structure practicing tasks. For example, 15 minutes on present perfect, 15 minutes on practice relative clauses, 15 minutes of comparative structures, and the next day stay on these topics, but vary the order and the activities. And it's easy to do with this Genially tool. You can upload the mixture of tasks with all these instructions that students have created before. And this is what it looks like. It's easy to register. Again, there is, of course, there is this premium accounts and everything, but still there are games, quizzes, presentations. You can make up the whole courses, infographics, and various activities with one and the same topic. Or you can just easily use the ready-made platforms for the courses you are working with. For example, here it's Super Minds course. I will just show you a little bit of how it works. So this is Practice Extra for students. And here we go to vocabulary. Students just need to identify. This is the first unit, the first level, and students identify who is who here, check themselves. If they make a mistake, they can start again. And this is also a part of learning. It's not...
How old are you, Misty?
Yeah. It's not a test. You don't get the grades for it, but still, if you complete everything well, you see little medals there. And yeah, and if you completed everything well, you get a reward. And as a teacher, I can reward my students as well, and I can check all their progress in this platform, and it's a really great tool. There are also games. Oh, I think we will look at the game. All right. No, it was here. Excuse me. Let's have a look at the game here. Okay, I'm sorry. I think the presentation got stuck a little bit. Technology. Fine, let me retry it. Just a second. While I'm coming back to the presentation, so this is a Cambridge One platform that helps you manage your students. And what I was showing you was just extra practice. And here, for example, you will also be able to get familiar with okay, with what oh gosh, excuse me for that. Here we go. Yeah, to get familiar with different teachers' resources, and there is a demo version on this platform which you can easily try, see what is there, see what works for you best. There are flashcards, audio, video, teachers' resources like tests, test generator, and so on, posters, and there is also this wonderful tool, Presentation Plus, for teachers, where you can present the book, workbook. There is also teacher's book and everything that is there on the course. You can use online, offline, you can use in the classroom or in your remote classroom, and really comfortable thing to work with. And there is also a wonderful course for teachers, which is Teaching with Supermind Second Edition. There are also other courses, not just with the book, but also how to teach with Cambridge One, how to teach with Presentation Plus, teenage learners, mixed abilities, and so on. Some of them are free. For example, Teaching with Supermind Second Edition is a free course for teachers. You can pass it and get a certificate. At the same time, you will learn how to work with this course. There are also short videos that explain some of the things, for example.
Let's have a look at the student vote. Each level of Supermind Second Edition is made up of a welcome unit followed by 9 main units and is explored throughout the unit.
There are not only book explanations, but also methodology explanations like this.
Preparing our students for a future which may be dramatically different from the present is a challenging task. experts say there are some key skills which will be essential for the citizens of tomorrow. Working together with people from around the world, thinking creatively to solve problems, analyzing sources more critically, communicating our views effectively, mindset in an increasingly complex world. The Cambridge Life Competencies Framework outlines the key competencies to help develop creative thinking and critical thinking. Let's have a look at how students develop these competencies. Three core areas. Prepare problems. Each core area. Let's look at some examples from Superminds Level 2. Here, students draw or make a sundial and add a description. The can-do statement is uses different media to make and describe his/her own designs. Now let's turn to critical thinking, which also covers three core areas: understanding and analyzing ideas and argument.
Okay, so there is a short video that explains you, either it's a methodology part or a digital part, and then there is a quiz for you to pass and understand whether you learned it or not, and maybe review the videos again. And finally, if you use too many technological tools, too many things at the same time, it might be not very effective, and students might get lost in technology. And when our limited working memory gets overloaded, the room for learning reduces. Whatever technology you decide to use in your classroom to boost effective practice, don't forget to keep it simple and to keep it according to the level of development of your students. So very often, less is truly more. And if you're interested in better preparation of yourself for using technology such as generative AI, there is a wonderful idea pack developed by Cambridge University Press and Assessment for English language teachers directly. So how to use it? There are cards that include tips for a variety of tools such as chatbots, image generators, and text-to-speech platforms. Generative AI moves quickly, so these are the cards mostly recommended to use soon, but they will be evolving together with the generative AI evolvement. And core ideas are rather about the skills of how we approach using generative AI for the classroom. And another note you need to remember about the copyright, because it is forbidden to use copyrighted learning or teaching materials as input for AI modifications. So let's have a look. Here is the contents for young learners and different prompt libraries and different activities for your students to work on or for you to prepare for the lessons using generative AI. For example, here, creating role play or debate cards, how to prompt, and then how to create those cards. For young learners, for teenagers, for adults, those would be different tasks. Creating vocabulary or idiom lists. Games with images, for example, and how which generative AI you can use for creating images, or even creating a set of tongue twisters. Here it's for young learners, for example. Not only this is, for example, for communication, not only for designing materials, but for communication during the class work, and how to use generative AI for assessment. how to use its feedback and what you can improve using these tools. So if you want to get this set of cards, make sure to fill out the form. You will also receive some papers in ELT to grow professionally. You will also receive the digital literacy brochure if you haven't yet, and this is another great tool to have when you are working with technology and with your students who are, of course, the digital students. Yeah, I will share different podcasts with you about different innovations, game-based learning, all the digital things we have. And the materials I was using this time was Supermind 2nd edition. So please check them out on Cambridge One platform. Look at the training sessions we have for those. This is for Presentation Plus, for using Practice Extra, for Cambridge One, and for the course directly. There are also short online courses for teachers who want to work on specific topic like communication, mixed ability classrooms, teenage learners, and so on. I'm reminding you that you will receive your certificates in 5 days after you fill out the form, which you will receive in 5 days in your thank you letter. And my name is Tetiana Shelepko. You can see my contact details here. And this is, thank you very much. Thank you for taking part in the webinar and for being really active, wonderful audience today. I hope you will have a great weekend and that you will develop professionally and take lifelong learning seriously. That's it from me, and I will be happy to answer any questions if there are any in the chat.